excited. Oop, wrong scene. There we go. Hi, everybody. I was vibing with that music just now. Yeah, yeah, that was a bop. As Matt just said, that was a bop. So,
And we'll never say it again.
good morning, everybody, or good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm super excited. We get to chat with all the wonderful folks from Guardians Mental Health and the Ladybird that I just met. And I love her content. She's so sweet. And her setup, as you can see, is very, very overpowered with all the beautiful lights, the beautiful plushies in the background. I'm like, yeah, I think you're my favorite person now. So I'm so happy I got to meet her. And we get to learn a little bit more about her content creation journey and why mental health is important to her and so much more. So I'm excited for this chat today. Yeah, that was the best vibe music, right? Yes. Good morning,
Yeah.
Vicky. Aw, Burb, she's my favorite person too. You stop it.
That's my
Stop it.
husband's.
Oh, Heavy. Hi, Heavy. Hi, Heavy. Thank you for joining us.
We
Hi,
absolutely
Shy. How
love
are
a
you?
supportive husband here.
Oh, we
He do
love that.
be. He do be.
And so many wonderful new faces in here. Burb, welcome. And we got Zero in here. Good morning. And Vicky and Dr. Goku, who is here on the panel with us today. Mocha and Izzy, our wonderful moderators, are part of our team. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Super excited. Good morning, Mean Bean. Oh my gosh. That's such a cute name. Okay. All right. Everybody here in chat is just brightening my whole morning. So thank you. Thank you. But if you all don't know who I am Ashley, also known as Miss Ash Rocks in a streaming space. I am Tiltify's community manager. I get to chat with cool people like, these people up here on camera. So I'm super excited. Love my job. Can't wait to talk about mental health and the amazing cause of Guardians Mental Health. So we're going to throw the round of introduction to Dr. Goku, Director of Programs at Guardians. First, I want you to tell us about this name, Dr. Goku, and why you have it. All right.
Okay, so,
Then, of course,
um,
tell us about your role at Guardians,
all right.
too.
So Dr. Coco is not my real name. So my actual name is Dr. Jean-Luc Williams. I'm a licensed psychologist in New Brunswick, Canada. But the nickname that I have goes way back. I'm gonna date myself, but goes back to like early high school when Dragon Ball Z was the thing. So was looking for like an online handle, and at that time Dragon Ball Z had just finished, and then there was GT. So at that time it was Super Saiyan 4, and I decided to be that weird kid that listened to the fan theories of like Super Saiyan 5. So for the longest time my handle was SSJ5 Goku 28, 28 being my hockey number. Again, stereotypical Canadian playing hockey. Um, but when I joined Guardians, as soon as I finished my doctorate, there was this discussion of, well, you have the doctor moniker now, so might as well incorporate it somehow. So that's how I came to be known as Dr. Goku.
I love it.
And
Never
I
change.
have a couple of Goku over my head here. And
Oh,
I
you
blame my wife for
do?
buying all of them for me.
Well, I love it. I love it. Thank you for the story because I, I asked him before the stream. I said, I want to know how you got this nickname. You need to tell me. I want this story. That's awesome. And you are the program or I'm sorry, the director of the programs at Guardians.
Yeah,
Can you
so
tell us
I
a little bit
am
about that role?
Yeah, so I am vice president and program director at Guardians Mental Health. So we're 501(c)(3) nonprofit, and as vice president, I sit on the board. But as program director, it's mainly working on all of the different programs that we have that involve mental health. So helping curate some of the mental health resources that we have, doing some of the vetting, helping build some of the resources, and just generally helping guide some of our mod team in terms of building trainings and incorporating the knowledge that I've gained through school and being a mental health professional and transmit it to other people so that they can then help other people.
Wow, that's amazing. What an impactful job you have. I bet you wake up just feeling fulfilled every day. That's awesome. Wow. I'm jealous. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing a little bit about your
Mhm.
role. We really appreciate it, Dr. Goku. We're going to throw the round of intro to Matt. Matt, how are you today? Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having us. This
Of
is
course.
an honor and going to be a lot of fun.
Mhm.
It's already has been fun, and it's only been 12
Yeah.
minutes.
And you both look so good. I feel underdressed. I mean,
Yeah.
geez.
I,
I didn't get the memo. What
I
happened?
mean, in all, if I'll gladly out myself here. I'm wearing shorts on with all of this. I have a pair of gym shorts. I'll gladly out myself right now.
I
So
just came
if
home from the office, so
I was like, I had the suit ready, but I was like, I don't want to put on like jeans or pants, so I'm just gonna put gym shorts on. I have the camera angled
it's
perfectly.
COVID
Perfectly.
attire.
Seriously, no
Yes.
shame. No shame.
Hey,
Absolutely.
all streamers do it. Trust me. Trust me.
Yes.
And if
You're
you're
not
working from
alone.
home,
I
I
love it.
I do it all the time.
You're outing
Well,
yourself,
if
Matt.
you could, tell us a little bit about your role at Guardians as well.
Sure.
We love to hear it.
So my name is Matthew Liardi. I am a licensed clinical social worker, and I am the director of advocacy within Guardians Mental Health. And really, what that attributes to, I do a lot of outreach to other organizations, collaborating with various partners, as well as ensuring that the resources that we have are appropriate in the sense of culturally appropriate, contain the correct and needed verbiage, ensuring that the resources that we not only provide are accurate and up to date, but are also competent and up to the standards of what 2022 is, right? So making sure that nothing is outdated, nothing is old, and everything is very current and relevant for the various people that come into our server, come into our streams, come into our chats, so that way they have the most up to date information as well. I work with Dr. Goku as well on creating some of the various programs we have and trainings that we do with our mod team, with our ambassadors. Um, and I get to bother our president Joe every day on a daily basis, and he loves and hates me for it.
Joe is wonderful. I'm so
He
sad
is.
he couldn't make it with us today, but we'll just have to schedule another stream and then force him to come next time. And that's okay.
Absolutely. I
Mhm.
only I live 4 hours from him, so I would gladly drive and force his hand.
Yes, yeah, I agree. I'll pay for the gas money. I got you. All right. Wow, wow, wow. You're doing amazing work too, Matt. And I can't wait to learn more about all the fun things that you can do with Guardians and learn a little bit more about the ambassador program you mentioned too. So we'll chat
Mhm.
about that later. So thank you
Sure.
for all the incredible work you're doing because it's very impactful for the gaming community. So, I mean, that's to all of you, all of you. And, we're throwing around an introduction to Ladybird, but
Woo!
you streaming as well, Ladybird, talking about mental health and being open and transparent with your community is also impacting the gaming community in the streaming industry. So just want to give you a heads up. Hey, you're impacting people every single day you go live. So
Thank
keep that in
you.
mind.
Absolutely.
Keep that in mind. I just have to remind streamers because you're
Mhm.
like, yeah, I'm a streamer. I go live. I chat with people. That's what people say. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay,
Yeah.
you're impacting so many individuals going live and chatting about the good topic mental health because that's never talked about. And we're breaking down those barriers every single day, having discussions like this. So,
Yeah, it's very important.
Ladybird, so happy to have you. You're wonderful. And I want you to share your content creation journey so far and, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Um, but bear with me because I'm not great at talking about myself.
It's
I tend
okay.
to ramble.
That's
But
okay.
I'm a pandemic streamer. I started in September of 2020. And I actually, go figure, was struggling with my mental health. I've struggled with my mental health for quite a while, but the pandemic definitely brought it out, like even more. It definitely exacerbated it, and I had started using a little bit of my free time. I was working from home. I was using my free time to watch a few streamers on Twitch, because my husband has always kind of hung out on Twitch, and I didn't really understand it at the time. But I started watching a couple of female streamers, and he one day was like, I think you would be pretty good at that. Good at that. You should, I think that maybe you should try it out. And I kind of blew it off the first few times he mentioned it, and then I don't know. It was like after a few, like a month of watching, like really watching Twitch like obsessively. I got made fun. My husband poked fun at me because I was one of those people watching VODs instead of actually watching live streams. um, because I had a few like specific streamers that I really, really enjoyed. Um, and I guess one day I just decided, you know what, like let's just give it a go. I didn't really know what I wanted out of it at the time. I thought it was just going to be a hobby, something that I did a couple times a week, once a week. Here we are almost 2 years later, and we've built a community of very kind, caring people. And after a couple of months of streaming, I found a stream team that kind of really spoke to me, very focused on mental health. And I decided to apply, thinking there was no way. But I managed to get accepted into that, and that kind of started it was kind of the realization for me that mental health was something that was important to me, because I had just recently started my own journey. I won't go into it too much, but I had a pretty rough childhood, and I did a lot of suppressing of the trauma that I'd been through until about age 27 or so. After I had my own child, I was like, wow, like you should probably go to therapy. Um, and um, and so I think that I started on this trajectory of like, for so long I pushed down all of those negative emotions, and kind of thought that like my mental health issues, my struggle with mental health was more of like a personality trait versus like a disordered thinking. And so I went on this like really uphill trajectory of mental health advocacy. I'm not a professional, but there's a lot that can be said for just talking about it, because it's something that really people relate to mental health struggles, even though we talk very little about it. Um, and Guardians Mental Health was the first fundraising campaign that I ever did. It was with the stream team that I was on, and I haven't really done anything else since then as far as like fundraising. I stick with mental health focused fundraising, because it's something I'm extremely passionate about. Um, and yeah, I think that's I don't know. I think that's
Oh, you're so adorable. I love you. Oh my gosh. Wow. Jeez. See, I knew I was just gonna love you a little bit more today.
it.
No, wow. I just look at your community here in chat. Like,
I
look
do
at the
have a
community you
very
cultivated.
Yeah, we have a very
And
amazing community. I couldn't do it without them.
Hmm.
yeah, and oh my gosh, you are a strong mental health advocate, which I love. And again, being transparent with your community and voicing your struggles and starting off streaming in a pandemic. Holy
Yeah.
moly. you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that is in no way, shape, or form easy. So I give you so much respect
Yeah.
and good energy. We're still in a pandemic,
Thank you.
unfortunately,
We are.
but
We are.
it didn't
Yeah.
end. It didn't
It's
end.
still
People think
there.
it ended. It's still there.
Still there.
It is.
Still
It
there.
is. It's still there.
So, wow, you're amazing. I love your story, and I can't wait to support your future, your journey. That's so
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank
Just
you.
keep going, because we need people like you in this space. Please don't stop. You can take
Oh.
breaks, but don't stop. Okay.
Breaks are
Lady
encouraged.
Bird
It
stands rise. Rise.
I re-
Oh,
Wow.
I remember the fundraising stream that you and that stream team
yeah.
were doing.
Mm,
Um, and I guess I'll, with the theme of just calling myself out, I'll continue to call myself out. We got like notifications from Tiltify, and I'll never forget. I messaged Joe and Doc. I was like, "Who's fundraising for us right now?" I don't think I knew, unfortunately. And so I'm
mm,
looking and I'm going, and I see you, I see a bunch of and a couple of other creators too, and I'm
Mhm,
like, "Holy crap!" And then I just was very I love your content. The
mm,
stream team you were with, I also was like everybody was just amazing. But yeah, no, absolutely being open, being that open in regards to a mental health journey with a community that clearly by looking at this chat right here loves and adores you
mm,
and supports. It's amazing to see and exactly what we within Guardians Mental Health try to continue to promote as well as to support at the same time.
yeah,
like you
yeah.
mentioned, Matt, for
Lauren
me, it's
actually is a
still.
co-founder of that stream team.
Yep.
Oh.
Mm,
Yeah, it was an amazing fundraiser. I started off with a goal of $200 because at the time I only had a few hundred followers. And I didn't have, of course, I struggle with self-worth and confidence, and it wasn't that I didn't believe in my community, I didn't believe in myself. But we ended up raising almost 700 instead of the 200 that I had made a goal for the community. And it really just goes to show that in general, people, if they believe in a cause, they will come out for it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well,
mm,
it's you. You rallied your community. You showed your
Yeah.
passion
mm,
for the cause
Thank
because you can
you.
relate to it
Thank you.
personally. So
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
community was influenced. They're like, well, if our wait, what do people say? Our streamer supports this. We're gonna support our streamer.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
it
Yeah,
That's
still
my
baffles
streamer.
me because we've been doing this for, well, Guardians, as a group, we've kind of evolved over time. But me and Joe have been doing this for like 4 years. Joe has been doing this a little bit longer than me, and it still surprises me when people start to raise funds for us. It just
Mhm.
warms my heart
Mhm,
because I still see us as this little organization that, oh, we're going to raise money for other orgs, and then we started our own, and then we have
mhm,
like these ninja fundraisers where there's someone raising funds for us. What? And
mhm.
it just
Yeah.
surprises the hell out of me every single time.
Oh,
It really
yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Every time I talk to these wonderful organizations on our Twitch channel, I'm like, I'm going to start a fundraiser now. I'm like, when am I going to have time to fundraise for all these causes? I need to make time, because I just recently heard of Guardians in the last few months. And I was like, oh my gosh, we got to chat with them this month, especially for Mental Health Awareness Month. So I love the work you're doing already. And I got to
Thank
make
you.
time to fundraise.
Thank you.
But
And
Yeah.
we
for
just
for
appreciate that.
everybody,
Yeah.
yeah, of course. And I think, excuse me, having this conversation is going to influence other people, to learn about the cause and fundraise as well or donate. So
Mhm.
we appreciate you all being here in chat. It's really, really, really kind of you to be here early too. Well, if you're PST, I really appreciate that. Thank you. But for the individuals here that don't know what Guardians Mental Health is, let's, educate them. Either Matt or Dr. Goku, can you tell us a little bit about the cause?
I'm gonna throw it to
So
you, Doc.
sure.
You are so much more well spoken than I
Oh, stop it. So, like I had mentioned, Guardians, we started as a small group back in 2017. I joined like late 2017, 2018, and we changed names 3 times since then, to end up being Guardians MH. So we started as a group of people that wanted to raise awareness and wanted to raise funds for other mental health organizations. And we did that for a year. And me and Joe were kind of got to talking, saying that we kind of want to do our own thing because we thought what we had something to offer. And a lot of paperwork later and headaches later, we finally got approved as a 501c3 to be Guardians MH to help promote mental health awareness in the gaming space, to provide mental health resources and being a first step where people can come gain resources that's not just like a Google search, that the information may or may not be relevant or may or may not be great. So we work with other mental health professionals to explore the resources, make our own, and vet all of them that they are relevant, evidence based, and that people can really use them, and then help them find their own mental health professionals and guide them to the resources that they may need. So we're not a replacement for therapy. We highly encourage people to seek out their own mental health professionals. But in the meantime, we will help you find that and hopefully be this like stopgap during those times of need.
Perfect. And are all these resources free to people that are in need of
Yep.
help?
Hmm.
Everything that we do is free.
Yeah.
So we
Wow.
have a couple programs. One of the big ones is our mental health kits. So they're physical kits, or you can get the digital versions as well. That we're still working on getting them out to everyone. We were very surprised at the reception to this latest run, so we're still working on getting through all of the orders. They're all free. You get mental health resources, you get fidget items, a coloring book, you get a journal, um, and it was curated by our team to be relevant, to be useful, and the most important, free, because we were looking at kind of making a kit, but we were looking online and some other people were making kits, but they're very bougie. There was like 100 or $150 for a kit with like two essential oils and a card. Like, the scientist in me and looked at the essential oils and like really cringed. Like, we can do better.
We can,
And
yes.
this is kind of where the mental health kit came from. And then we have our online resources through our RTS bot. So it's a mental health resource bot that you can have in your Twitch chat, that you can
Hmm.
have in your Discord server,
Mhm.
and that is available online through any web browser that is connected to the internet.
Can
Hmm.
vouch for both. I got the mental health kit, and um I literally just this morning realized that once I switched to Stream Elements, I did not bring RTS bot over, and
Oh,
I'm gonna need to do that because RTS bot is really it's very special. It is I think any streamer can use it regardless of whether or not you are like a mental health advocate,
yeah,
because it is like there we've all heard about trauma dumping, and how like we want to be there for our community members, but
yeah.
we can only do so much, and we need to protect our community members and also make sure that people are aware that we are not professionals. And RTS bot is a very very good place, a very good bot to have to help people find the resources they need so that they feel cared for, and that people that their favorite streamers really do care about them, while we're still able to keep our boundaries. So we have
Yeah.
I had the RTS bot in stream, but I also have it as a resource in Discord, and we'll send people that way, if they come in and they're having a really really rough day. That way we can protect our community members, but also help um, care for and comfort the members that are having a rough day. So,
Like,
you
imagine
Yeah.
know.
keeping the boundary there to protect you and your stream, but also making the person feel heard,
Yeah,
understood,
exactly.
feel
Right.
validated, where they can get the resources and then work on
Mhm.
finding their own mental health professional and working through the things that they're going through.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's a
100%.
positive redirection for someone who is kind of going through something and utilizing, I guess unfortunately in a sense utilizing a streamer as that outlet or a content creator, right? So it's instead of the shutdown, it's hey, I hear you, not really what I can personally assist with, but here are the resources that can.
Mhm.
Right. So it is this positive and almost in a sense like a gentle redirection of a place where you can get
Mhm.
more appropriate and better services that could help in a sense, or people that can listen who are there to listen and help
Oh,
in a sense, right?
Yeah.
good.
And certainly even more so now within the pandemic, even a little bit before, but we were seeing the rise of people trauma dumping on streamers. So essentially,
Mhm.
the scientific term of things, people form a parasocial relationship with the
Mhm.
streamer, where they feel very comfortable to share these information but not really at the right time. And we were
Mhm.
seeing this rise again with the pandemic. Everyone is suffering the same collective trauma, and a lot of people were just banning people. Oh, we don't want this in our stream, can't handle this, and
Yeah.
they were banning people and creating more distress.
Mhm.
So we got to thinking: is how can we utilize some of the things that we have to help streamers, but also help the community?
Mhm.
I think people are still doing that action, unfortunately,
Mm,
because they don't know
Mhm.
how to
Definitely.
handle the situation,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate. So we
Very
need to
true.
speak up more about it. Need to make some tweets. Okay, need to make some tweets to inform
Mhm.
everybody about the RTS bot. So I'm gonna do that
mm,
later. So thank you so much for telling me about
Really
that.
fantastic.
Um,
mm,
Definitely tough, like, when
I
you're a mental health advocate, like, that is, like, how I it's not something that, like, I every stream, I'm like, "Hi," when I go live, I'm not like, "Hi, I'm Ladybird, I'm a mental health advocate," but it's, like, the community we built is very tight knit and, um, eh it's one of those things where like I feel like mental health advocates are in a unique position where people tend to think that we're more okay with like trauma dumping and talking about having ideations and things like that because we are so open with like mental health struggles and support of mental health that RTS bot, if you are in any way a mental health advocate, like you need to have it. It is like it's an amazing resource. And I think that any streamer can benefit from it, but especially if you are a mental health advocate, like you absolutely need to have it.
Yeah, it
Thank you
provides
for
on
that
demand
endorsement.
mental health
yeah.
crisis
Thank
resources
you.
as a library of resources available to individuals when they need it most. Yay!
Yeah.
So, could it be utilized as timers or is it just
Yes.
commands?
Sorry,
Okay.
sorry, it's not mine, but yes, it can.
No,
Oh, okay. No,
Yeah.
no,
it
thank
abs
you.
Yeah,
I'm
it
yeah.
a-
I'm
it
gonna add it in
absolutely
my own
can.
stream in Discord. So thank
No,
you.
absolutely. It absolutely can. It can be added as just a timer where it will provide a random resource
Yeah,
um,
that's what I want.
every yeah, and you set the time frame of it, um, and then just periodically you can use it. If somebody mentions even anxiety, it's an exclamation point anxiety, and it'll come up with resources, tips, and everything that we put into the RTS spot, as well as our mental health kits. Right, everything is grounded in evidence based practice. Right, this is not just a random Google search. That's not that's not what we're in the business of doing.
Mhm.
So
Correct.
these are techniques, these are skills, these are things that I would utilize in teaching somebody in my own
Mm,
private practice to try to
same here.
do. These are things that can easily be and the language that we use, especially within the mental health kits, is that so that anybody can pick this up and sort of try it, work with their own therapist to use it, right? Because we're not the replacement, we're additional resource, we're the
Mm,
additional support.
Correct.
And I think that's also what's beneficial to say here too, is that it's this is not just a quick Google search. Everything that we do is cited, right? Any skills that we have that are in the kit, there's references that go to it. Any trainings that we do, with whether our ambassadors or our moderators, everything is cited and grounded in peer reviewed journals and articles, to make, and again, that's part of my other job, is to where we just make sure everything is current, everything is relevant.
Mm,
We've even recently had our kits sent out to other mental health professionals all over the
mm.
globe, actually, because we
Yeah.
we had professionals from the UK, and
Wasn't someone
everywhere,
in
I
New
should say.
Zealand?
We did have somebody from New Zealand actually reach out to
Wow.
request. Yeah, and even and then and we had it peer reviewed there, in a sense, like, hey, what are your thoughts on this kit? Right? Would you deem it clinical? Do you feel that it's appropriate? If not, what would you change? What would you add? Because we also know that we're human and not perfect, and we want to make sure that we're also doing the right thing. And what's the better way than to get other eyes on it from other professionals? And we've had resounding, approval, and just like, no, this is great, the material in here is good. And we've also had the critique of like, hey, I would change this, or hey, I would throw this in there, or I think this needs to be added, right? And that's the beauty of what we do, because we involve others, right? um the example I use, I am not an expert by any means in working with veterans, right? I am not a veteran. My career path has not led me to working with veterans as much as I wanted to. It just did
Mhm.
not veer that way. So I am not that expert. So I'm going to go seek out somebody who is an expert,
Mhm.
right?
And
Because
we have
that's
someone
not
that
fair.
works with the
And we do
VA, and
actually.
is someone that is military, that is going through their doctorate to
Hmm.
become, I believe he's trying to become a psychologist, and he's
Yes.
also in the military. So he's more of that expert in that particular field.
Yeah. So that's the other beauty as to what we do. We involve everybody that we can around us, whether it's other organizations, other professionals, other people, to kind of come in, so that way we are providing a proper service to all who are
Mm.
requesting. If you're
Yeah,
coming
and we're
into our
not a
server,
one-stop shop.
right?
Correct.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And because at least in my field, and I think Doc, you can feel the same
Mm,
way, I'm not a one-stop shop for somebody too,
no,
right? In my own personal practice, my first session sometimes, like, hey, if if we don't match, or if I feel I don't have the proper background to assist, I'd rather get you to the person who can, right? Because I don't want to do a disservice to the person or the people in front of me. And I've brought that really into Guardians when I started, because we want to make sure that we have either the resources or the tools or the people or the connections to send others to who need additional or more
mm,
specific support.
mm. And this is where kind of building this list of partners and partnered organizations is so important, that we
Mhm.
have this bank of resource that we can go, they might be the best to help you with this specific thing. So give them the contact, the information, and we're able to send them in the right direction.
Wow. I love that you listen to community and look for feedback. So you provide the best of the best product for people that are in need. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Gosh, I love
yeah.
y'all. I love you all.
Thank you.
Stop.
And we actually do.
Stop.
We
I'm gonna
encourage
cry. I'm actually gonna cry. Oh my
we encourage
gosh.
the community, we encourage our community to, like, hey, if you know of resources that have helped you, send them our way, right? Because myself, Dr. Goku, will look into it, make sure it's appropriate, make sure it's accurate, and if it is, and if it's good, we will put it
It
in the
goes on the bot.
RTS pod. Absolutely. So this is an ever growing list. It's not just like ours. We're not like, the
We're not
I'm
gatekeeping it.
we're not gatekeeping it. I'm not playing Dungeons and Dragons, so I'm not the dice goblin where everything is mine. Um, all the shiny math rocks are mine. We want everybody to be inclusive in this, and we want the resources that we don't have, right? So if somebody has a fantastic resource for LGBTQ that they don't see on our list, no, send it to us, please. If there's any additional resources, the things, especially when everything first started happening between Russia and Ukraine, right? That was the biggest time where people were throwing resources at us like this one is good, this one is true, this one's accurate information. And I remember that week, me and Doc were like, oh my God, how do we verify this? and,
There's so many.
and there's so many, but we did, and it helped. And we had the community come together and was like, no, here you go. So in a sense, the community helps us too to
Mhm.
make sure that this list is accurate and helpful to share to everybody.
Wow, that's amazing. What incredible work you're doing for the gaming community and so many other people. That's
Yeah.
incredible. I just respect that you listen to the community because that's really rare. So
Mhm.
thank you for taking the time to do that. And it's so impactful. I know you know it's impactful, but I just want to reiterate it is so impactful. Like you're gonna make me
It's
cry
always
now.
nice to hear it.
So thanks. I'm
Yeah.
gonna cry. I'm
No,
emotional. Thanks, Matt.
I'm
Thanks.
s- I'm sorry.
Thanks.
Just remember, I have gym shorts on, not pants. So there you go. See? Laughter, not crying.
Oh my gosh. I
It's
gonna still cry, Matt, because I'm gonna cry of laughter.
I, there we go. See, that's better though.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Um, no, and
Wow.
I think you mentioned like the whole gaming space, and that's kind of what we all felt was needed. There was a little bit of a there was, and I'll call it a market in a sense, but I don't mean it in like a corporation way. But there was a community, there was a group of people who, may not have been getting all the most accurate resources, or weren't seeing the proper, therapists or professionals, or didn't know, or honestly, at times, even may have felt rejected by a therapist because there was no understanding of their culture, right? I
Mm.
view video game conventions as as home. I have cold PAX East
Mhm.
my home every year, and I think there's a large group that don't necessarily at times understand that there are providers, there are resources, and there are people out there who do kind of understand and respect that aspect of, game nerd pop culture,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah, we had a
um
discussion on this last night with
Absolutely.
Matt Fellows. He's a forensics therapist on one of our shows, Healer's Journey, where we talk with mental health professionals and their journey in becoming mental health professionals. And we kind of talked about this where like nerd and geek culture has been very underserved or misunderstood, even in the mental health profession, where this kind
Yeah.
of new generation of therapists are trying to integrate this even more.
I have personal experience with having a therapist who did not understand the streaming space, like not even just the gaming streaming space. It made me feel very uncomfortable. It
Mhm.
was very invalidating. And I know that that's
Yeah.
not what they were trying to do. But it was incredibly invalidating for them to, question why I was doing it, and especially when it came to like mental health advocacy, questioning, whether or not I was, pretending to be a professional when I had, clearly communicated that that was not at all my intention.
Mhm.
And I'm lucky enough now to have a psychologist who is, not necessarily aware of the streaming world and the gaming world at large, and how much
Mhm.
it has a positive impact on people, but who is just like really non-judgmental. And it's hard to find, and I think that that's one of the things that's really discouraging about finding help is it's not a one size fits all thing, and
Mhm.
it can take years before you find the therapist or the psychologist, the professional that fits your needs, or not even just your needs, but your vibe, like your
Mhm.
personality.
Hmm.
um and I think that a lot of people tend to start therapy and they have a bad experience with one therapist, and they generalize every therapist as being that same type
Right.
of way,
Mhm.
and that can be
Yeah.
really harmful for not only their mental health, but for the stigma around therapy, that it's all tell me how you feel about that versus what therapy really is. And it's definitely not Tell me how you feel about that. It's much more complex.
Mhm.
And one bad experience can really create a very bad stigma
Mhm.
about what therapy is. And so, I mean, the fact that Guardians Mental Health exists is for people who definitely who are definitely more um, um, ingrained into the gaming community.
Hmm.
That's, it's an amazing resource for people who might feel like there isn't someone out there who will understand what they're going through. So,
Yeah.
And this is where I often talk to people and refer them to a partner org that we have, and that I'm kind of going through a certification with them as well, is with Geek Therapeutics, where we are taking trainings on specifically geek and nerd culture, increasing our knowledge to better serve people in geek and nerd culture.
Right. Yeah. And we've worked with them. I've taken a ton of their courses as well too. And you know what, the general idea, I think, is twofold. One, a therapist should be open and looking at who the person is in front of them, right?
Mm,
um and what their interests are, who they are. Um, and usually, 9 times out of 10, if somebody brings up something to me that I have no idea about, I ask them about it because clearly it means something to them,
mm.
right?
Teach
So
me.
I've teach me, tell me.
Mm,
And I do that a lot for everybody, right? And especially I think it is an avenue for me that has helped in that avenue of cultural competency as well. Like, I am a straight white male. I have no idea. I can learn and I can educate myself, but I cannot put myself in the experiences of others. So I'd rather you teach me, in a sense, right? Or tell me your story, tell me what has happened, tell me what your culture is, because I want to know more about you and the reflection that it has on you. And again, I'm not going to sit there and pretend that I know it. Well, one is completely and utterly wrong, but
mhm.
also two, it's just not clinically appropriate, at least in my opinion, because I, my interpretation or my understanding of it could be vastly different from the person sitting in front of me. So I want to hear more of your interest, your culture, what you like, what you don't like, you know. And I'm also going to be a little bit funny about it too. I've learned so much more about anime from my clients than ever
Oh
before,
yeah,
right? I had
because
no idea. I had no idea what Berserk was, and oh my god, I now know. And I'm engaged. My Hero Academia was so I had a client recommend it to me. And to now tell you that I have tons of figures up above my computer desk right now is an understatement, right? So that's also the funny, but kind of just bringing home what I'm trying to say here is the person in front of you is really what is important. Um, and
because
again,
nerd
bringing
and
that to
geek
an
culture is
organization,
so wide
yes,
that you can't know everything.
no, no. And that's what and again, that's why we stress the importance of community, and that's why we stress the importance of our not to slide into a little bit of a plug, but that's why we also love our ambassador program as well too,
Mm,
because these are the content creators and streamers and people who kind of promote exactly what we love and what we're passionate about, is just
Right.
this advocacy of positive mental health and promoting it and understanding it and being a safe and inclusive spot for everybody to kind of come in. And we absolutely love it, and that team is just growing and growing, and we honestly can't keep up with the applications, and that's a good thing.
yeah,
Because
it
it's
still
such
baffles me. Mm.
yes, me too. Me too. Whenever I get that email, I'm like, "Really? They do? I love them."
Yeah,
They like us.
So,
They really like
really
us.
right. And again, it's that aspect of community because each person brings their own viewpoint, their own style, their own culture and understanding, and we love it and we need it, and it's something that not only influences our work and what we do, it influences our day to day on Twitch and on social media. It influences our mental health kits just to grow and to be better. So the word of the day here is community
Mhm.
and how
Yes.
much it means to us as an
I love it.
organization.
I love it. And just briefly from my experience, it was pretty rough. I had a lot of work stress and other things going on mental health wise back in 2018. And, I seeked out, resources to have therapy. And believe it or not, everybody, I had to do this whole questionnaire and all this stuff. That's normal. Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, well, you don't have a mental health illness, so you don't need therapy.
Ah, that hurt.
Hmm.
I'm guessing that's probably through community mental health,
That hurt.
where
Kaiser.
they
Kaiser.
unfortunately screen
Mm.
people.
I have to be quiet.
I felt so invalidated. I
Of
said,
course.
"Okay, so what do I need then?" Well, you can talk in these group sessions and stuff. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to have a one-on-one with somebody. Well,
Mhm.
you're not diagnosed with anything. So I
And
said,
then the pandemic happens,
But then
and everyone
right.
realized that that's not how mental health works.
works.
Mhm.
Oh my
Oh, I'm so
gosh. So then
sorry you had
I
to go
Oh,
through
I'm
that.
sorry to hear that too.
Yeah.
I
That
revisited
hurts.
again. Oh, trust me. I was so angry. I was crying in my car. I
Yeah.
said,
No, I
"Mom,
don't blame you.
why don't people care about me and how I feel?" I felt so lost. And oh, anyway, we're doing good now. Last year I revisited and reached out to, the mental health department again at Kaiser. They're like, "Wait, who did that to you?" I'm like, "I don't know, but you go investigate and you
Mm.
talk to
Right.
that person."
Fix
So
that
Aw.
right now.
go fix that right now if they're still working, because that's
Yeah,
inappropriate and so invalidating.
yeah.
And I wanted to find somebody that I could relate to with my own personal experiences. So I looked for a Black woman. And I shared my experiences. She asked me about streaming. What is streaming? She didn't know what it was. She listened to me. I felt so validated and like somebody is actually listening to me and my struggles and helping me better understand my thoughts and how I value myself. So last year was
And that
great.
connection is so
It
important. And I
is
talk about
very.
this data so much. The success someone will have in therapy is 80% based on the relationship you build with that therapist. That
Mhm.
therapeutic
Mhm.
relationship accounts for 80% of your success in therapy.
Yes.
Yeah.
20%
100%.
is everything else.
Mhm.
It's
It makes
yeah.
sense. It does. I've been in therapy. I've been in therapy on and off since 2017, 2018, and I'm on my fifth therapist now. And I have never really fully discussed my trauma with any of the therapists I've had up until now because I never felt I never really felt comfortable enough to do that. And I mean, not everybody has trauma. Sometimes it's just an anxiety disorder that you inherited, or, but when it comes to things like trauma and personal experiences that have like really impacted your, view of yourself, and it's a very complicated thing, and it's not an easy thing to talk about. And it took me 4 years to find someone, and it literally just within the last 2 weeks I was finally like, I think that I can actually be vulnerable with my therapist. And that's like the sad part about mental health is that it could take you years before you find someone that like meshes with you, and that you can trust enough to open up to. And that's why I think that mental health is such an important thing to talk about. We need more people who care about it, and we need more professionals. We need more therapists right now. There are wait lists for therapists right now. I got lucky And it's so weird to say, but it's almost like a privilege to have trauma because I was put at the top of the list, above
Yeah.
people who don't have the same experience as me. Otherwise, I would have had to wait a year or more to get in with this psychologist that I felt like I needed. And there's just there's way too many people struggling with their mental health right now, and way too few people who can help them with it.
Yeah,
I completely
it's
agree.
yeah. Unfortunately, I'll speak for the few states that I work in. The wait lists are very, very high.
Mhm,
Current job that I'm in, I'm sort of that person um, to set up, to help, to work with families and patients, and trying to get them the services and the resources that they need. That's sort of my job right now, and it's that job is very difficult, unfortunately, because of just the wait lists, the pandemic in a sense, always in under the scope of it was bad. It is bad. But it did shed a spotlight on the importance of mental health,
Mhm,
right? And I think
mhm,
it's unfortunate that it took a pandemic to shed that spotlight on it, yet here we are.
mhm.
Um and you're right, there's not enough professionals out there to assist. And it is not a because I know there's narratives out there where it's like this, oh, it's this just false sort of like explosion of need for mental health. I can be very bluntly honest and say it's not.
mhm,
It is so
It,
not.
it
It is
was a problem before the
mhm,
pandemic.
Yes,
Yes.
because the
I
families that
remember.
reach out, the people that I work with, I primarily work with families and adolescents, and the stories that I hear, the people that I work with, the things that no, this was going on way before,
mhm,
2020. This was
Mhm,
something that was unfortunately building up, and there was just things that occurred in the world that exacerbated it and got to this point. So it is not a false explosion of need.
mhm,
It is a true outcry of help. Um,
I
so
remember during one of my first practicums, it would have been 2011, 2012. Um, I did a practicum in community mental health down here, and I was shadowing one of the therapists that was doing intake interviews. So you do the intake before getting put on the list to see the therapist there. And the person was classified as low need in terms of kind of the hierarchy. And this is burned into my mind. That therapist said, I'll put him medium because if I put him low, he will never be seen.
yeah,
Wow.
it's
yeah,
so sad.
And this was 10 years ago.
yeah. It's the system that we work for, unfortunately, is not perfect um, by any stretch of the imagination. But to spin that in a bit of a hopeful and positive way, there are resources and people and avenues to go down to assist with a mental health journey, right? Whether it's reaching out to a local and community organization that works and provides mental health, be it contacting um, even I hate to say it, even contacting your insurance company sometimes to see what is available, what's out there for you, right? What are you eligible for? How can that be changed? How can that be worked, right? There are various avenues, and again, that is what we kind of look to do and provide and help and sort out with people who come into our server, who come into our channel, right? Because we're not here to provide the therapy in this sense. We're here to get them to that next step, right? um in the work that I do a lot of work with government assistance, and programs like that. And while it's different for every state, I at least do have this general knowledge of it. Like, hey, reach out to whatever your version of this office is, right? There's plenty of times where that is probably the one thing I will Google every so often is like, what is this
Mhm.
called in Kentucky, right? What is this
Yeah.
in, Nevada?
And that knowledge that you have transfers directly in what you do with us here at Guardians,
Right,
helping
right. It
find
helps.
these resources.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is there's always a way. It's unfortunate that it can sometimes be difficult and even more unfortunately discouraging. I'll just ask and state that there is somebody there waiting to talk to you, waiting to help, waiting to work. It might not be the first person that you talk to. That is very much okay. Not everybody is supposed to vibe with everybody, but continue to seek out and advocate for yourself as much as you possibly can and enlist the help of others to decrease that, sole individual burden of advocating. Um, it's tough. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's easy by any stretch of the
Mm,
imagination. It is tough, and I'm sorry it's tough. Because I think if me and Doc had our way, it would be very, very different.
mhm,
um, but there is the light sort of at the end of the tunnel where you will be able to sit and talk and get the proper treatment, the proper diagnosis, or the proper
mm,
whatever you're looking for to help. And that's the end of
mm.
my rant, and I apologize.
Oh, never. Hey, not a
That's
rant at
okay. And to
all.
piggyback on what you were saying, Matt, unfortunately, because there are so many different forms of therapists that have different approaches, the onus kind of falls on the individual to essentially kind of know what they need to look for because a specific modality may not work for you. But
Mhm.
if you have an understanding as to what you may need, you have an ability to filter your search to find the provider that might be able to give you the thing that you need.
I think that's the real struggle with mental health and finding a therapist because I went through that struggle. I went to my first like introduction therapy session and I went specifically for anxiety. I thought all I was going to do was to learn coping mechanisms for anxiety and having more confidence in myself. And I left that session having uh just touched like the tip of the iceberg
Mm,
for the trauma that I went through. And I had never in my life spoken about my trauma. I mean literally never ever spoken about it for 28 years of my life. And so it completely changed that hour session completely changed what I was looking for in a therapist. And that's one of the things I think that can be very discouraging if you don't know what to look for. I didn't really know what to look for. Um and so I started off with just like a talk therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy.
hmm
And now I'm all the way on the opposite side of the world as far as therapy goes, and I'm doing neurofeedback and I'm going to be starting EMDR. And I never thought 4 years ago that this is where I would be at in my mental health journey. But it took me this long to realize that the typical modalities for therapy wasn't going to work for me.
hmm
And I think that I'm privileged in more ways than one. That I wouldn't say I'm an open book when it comes to um I would say I'm an open book when it comes to face value mental health day to day, how I'm struggling.
Yeah.
But as far as like the trauma side of it goes, I'm much more close to the chest. I don't
That's
like
much
to
more
talk about
personal.
that. It's very, very personal. And so getting to this point, you know, I I've become very I got to the point in my mental health journey where I was like, all right, you're a mom now. Like I'm having a mental break once a year. I can't do this anymore. I need to figure this out. And there's something that's a little bit different about being a parent when it comes to mental health than it was before then, because I when before then I was like, you know what, I'm going to go to my grave with this with this secret. I'm not going to talk
Hmm.
to anybody about it. And I didn't realize then how much of an impact it had on my day-to-day life. And I'm at that point now where I have to make a change, but not everybody is at that point. And a lot of people
Yeah.
don't want to go through the horrible feeling. It is. I'm not like I can't lie and say like that therapy is it's not. It's a horrible feeling
Therapy
when
can suck.
it can really suck, especially in the beginning. Like once you start opening up and you realize that, everybody goes through their own mental health journey. We really do. Like the fact of the matter is there is a statistic, correct me if I'm wrong, that shows that everybody at some point in their life will likely deal with depression. But
Mhm,
that is not something that people talk about because nobody wants to talk about their bad days. No, like that is just something, especially in America. I'm sure that there are other countries that are more open about their mental health, but here in America, we're much more. It's a kind of a secretive underworld. Nobody wants to talk about it,
mhm,
and I understand why there are so many people out there who don't get help because
mhm,
it's just not something that people they don't want to talk about it.
mhm.
It's not something
And
that's fun to talk about.
to piggyback on that, this is something that I see to a lot of my clients where you mentioned the iceberg, and I have this view of generally what the person will come to see me for is not what we'll be working on. So I'm see you're coming to me with kind of the tip or the explosion, but there's this big iceberg underneath that is just feeding into this. And when it comes to trauma, people spend so much time and effort and energy avoiding everything that revolve around that trauma. And the thought of going to therapy and feeling all of these feelings is scary.
Uh-huh.
And one thing I want people to know is you've already done the hard part when it comes to trauma work. You've lived through the trauma. There is nothing we can do and say and talk about in therapy that is worse
Please
than
don't.
what you
Oh,
already went through.
I don't want to cry. I'm sorry. I did not
It's
want to cry. I didn't think that was going to happen. But yeah, it's very
No,
true.
no.
Very
that's
true.
normal.
And yeah, it's uh th- I therapy is awesome. That's how I'm going to start this statement.
Mm,
Therapy is fantastic, but there will be those sessions where it's harder
mhm,
because of the content that's coming up, you know, and a lot of times there's reasons why that content is coming up now. Something happened, anniversary of something, just or even just more so of a comfortability factor with the person that you're sitting across from to be able to talk about this. And it's as a therapist, what I will say, it is such a beautiful thing to see sometimes happen. And usually when sessions like that happen, the best thing that I can tell or that I've said to others is thank you. That wasn't a ghost. The wind just closed my
Okay.
door. I
Okay.
apologize. I got scared too, and I was like, "Oh right, I have windows open." Um, but the one thing I will tell everybody that that is helpful in moments like that is thank you for having and sharing this with me, right? And my job here in this moment is to hold on to that, right? Because I think something that Dr. Goku was alluding to was we can't go back and fix what happened, right? That's not something that we're able to do, but we are able to listen and hear and hold it for you for a little bit, right? There's been the TikToks going around of men sort of holding up the women's belly when they're pregnant, relieving the pressure.
mhm.
So that's my weird sort of comparison here is that yeah, that I could have chose a much better analogy.
You do what you do.
I I hate and love TikTok at the same time. It screws up my brain. Um but it's sort of that we will hold on to that for you. We will kind of work with you to pack this a little bit nicer to provide the tools to go along when these feelings come up to better assist. um if there's an editor that can cut what I just said before, that would be great. But
I
I know
love
this is
it.
live. I
Oh
know
my
this is
gosh, I
live,
love
so we'll
it.
just go with it. Um, uh,
Oh my
but
gosh.
that is
Good.
the role here. And see if I can make trauma talk funny. That's even better. Um,
Exactly.
but that's the role that I've told people from me, like, this is what we're going to do right now, and also try to end the session on a bit of a, I won't say a happier note, but be able to talk and ground, and let's come back to
Mhm.
the reality. What's on the menu for today? What are you going to be doing for the rest of the week? What are some fun activities to kind of just bring back and ground? um and it is a beautiful thing to be a part of, and to see it work, is something that I love in clinical practice. Not that I love trauma, but I love being able
Yeah.
to work with others to assist and to help with some of the really not great things that have gone on, and to be able to reframe and to repack is a nice thing to be a part of, I should say. And I
Mhm.
always thank everybody that I've worked with for being a part of their journey, whether it was for one session, whether it was for a year of sessions. I'm still a part of that journey, and I thank everybody for it.
Yeah, something about those hard sessions, it really makes you realize, like, wow, did not know that affected me so much in my day-to-day life
Mhm.
Yeah.
personally.
I just had
When
one of
I
those sessions last week.
I was like, "Wait, what? How did you help me unpack that?" Like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh. Yes, I've had those sessions and you're just crying and you're
Mhm.
stressed and your head is pounding. Have you
Mm.
had that happen, lady? Like
Oh,
you're just your
100%
head
last
is
week, yeah.
pounding, you're stressed out, you're like,
Yep,
but that session was
yep.
Yeah,
so
I
worth
often
it
say to
at the end of the
people
day.
after a session, go take a nap.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, what you were
Yeah.
saying, Matt, about, saying thank you is something that I never experienced with a therapist up until the one that I have right now, and I had a very rough day, last Thursday with my mental health, and, streaming actually had a lot to do with it.
Mhm,
Definitely not, like, the only thing, like, streaming it's an all-encompassing,
Yeah.
thing, but to have a therapist actually be like, "Thank you for, like, taking the step and opening up to me." Like, I'd never had a therapist say thank you to me. I am usually the one saying thank you
mhm,
for helping me, and, like, I am so grateful, um, to be able to go to therapy, but to be able to, like, have a therapist who really, really understands just how hard it is to open up. I think that like, the majority of therapists really are fantastic at their jobs, but there are some that, there are, like, duds in every work industry. Like, it's just that's
mhm,
how it goes in healthcare.
Yeah.
But to be able to find someone who really understands and is grateful to have to have that experience with a client, it's like that really is kind of, it's like a breakthrough. And it's very, I look back on that day, it was only a week ago, and um I feel so much closer now to my therapist than I did before, being able to have that experience, and for him to be, so grateful for me, because that is a big deal. I'm sure, Matt, you can understand
mhm,
how big of a deal it is to have that kind of breakthrough, because you can spend months and months and months or years with a therapist and never
Hmm.
really, and it stays very face value.
mhm,
And that's how it was for me for years, just going in, therapist asks you how your day is, and in my head I'm thinking that's like the same question everybody asks me, is like, how are you doing? But, like, that's not what you're asking. You're asking, it's a much more, like, complex question for a therapist to ask you. But for me, as somebody who's spent years hiding, my trauma, and just in general not wanting to be a bother to other people, when my therapist asks it, now I'm like, okay, they don't want to just know my day was okay. Like, I had an okay day. Like, and that's what it's always been for me, is just like a, yeah, I was okay. I was all right. I'm
Mhm.
tired. Um versus what what I realize I need to do is to really just actually be honest, because a therapist, like, if you're honest with anyone, the one person you really should be honest with is your therapist, because they are literally paid to not to be to for that information to be confidential. You don't have to worry about that person going and telling a family member, or going and posting it on the internet. Like, it is truly confidential, and that's one thing that's extremely hard about therapy. And really, when it comes down to it, like, that is something that's difficult when you're in the streaming space,
Oh
is
yeah.
is is feeling like you want to be open with your community, but always wondering how many of them really don't care. And that's like, and it's not that it upsets me that they don't care. It's more like, um how many people am I bothering by talking about this versus helping? And that's something that I've kind of had to come to terms with, is that this is part of my journey, but it's a part of, to be honest, it's like a part of my brand now, is
Yeah.
to be open about
Mhm.
my journey. And I feel like, to be honest, like, with what I've been going through with, like, neurofeedback and EMDR, like, the whole neurofeedback thing is something people like, it's a newer form of therapy. And
Mhm.
I knew nothing about it up until a few months ago, up until like 6 months ago or so. And it's not my job to educate people on what it is, but to even just be able to talk about my experience with it, to make people aware that there are other forms of therapy out there than just talk therapy. Like, that is it's something that I find very important. And so, not just having a conversation about just like how my day is going, we end up going into conversations that are much more nuanced than that, without, we're very careful about not trauma dumping and not spreading information that could be false. But it's just much more about sharing experiences, and that's something that's very special about the streaming space. Is if you cultivate a community that is kind and caring and understanding, like, those are conversations you can have without feeling guilty. And it's tough because I
Right.
say without feeling guilty, but it's like there's always a level of like, oh no, did I say too much? But like Ash, I'm sure you know exactly
Yes.
what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah. So, anyways.
No, I love it.
Yeah. Cultivating community is so important based on your values and what you are passionate about. And that's exactly what you did, lady. Exactly what you did. And you continue to do it. Continue doing this. Again, I told you, you can take breaks, but you don't
Mhm.
stop
Yeah,
because we need
yeah.
you. And I'm so proud of you and your journey. And thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing that with us. I appreciate it.
Thanks for
And
having me.
I'm sending you so much love on your continued journey with therapy and your mental health and everybody else here that's listening and myself and
And
myself
you,
and
yes.
myself.
Yeah.
Can't forget you.
Can't
No, not at
forget
all.
me. I oftenly do, but
Yep,
we're working
you
on
are
it.
the most important person.
No, you.
Mhm.
I'm kidding.
No,
No, I'm not.
you.
You.
No, no, you.
No,
No,
you.
no,
Reverse
No,
you.
card.
you.
Red
You.
reverse card. Red reverse card. What do
I
you got for me?
I need an Uno deck in my room now is what I'm
Yes.
figuring out.
Well, Lady Bird, I just had one last question for you. I know we're over time, sorry, but such a great conversation.
Course.
What just from your personal experience, you being a mental health advocate in a streaming space, what tips would you give somebody that wants to do the same without or with the thought process of having boundaries with your community still, like how you are being transparent with your community and open about your own struggles. Like what tips would you give somebody that wants to do the same?
That's tough. It's like it's
I
very
know it's like
personal,
everybody's own personal experience,
Yeah.
but or I guess you can kind of share what you've done so far. Like, what do you do
Um,
with your community? Do you have like Mental Health Monday or
we actually
special
don't.
streams? No? Okay.
I'm actually a horror streamer. I actually stream Dead by Daylight. Um, but I'm
Oh,
known for I'm known for having these long conversations at the beginning of stream, and
Yes.
then it's like 2 hours later we actually get into the game. So I honestly, I think the biggest thing is like it like it needs to be like you really it should be organic. Like we we don't need to force it. Mental health professionals are there to be like a resource for that. We can help by talking about our experiences. And I know that there's probably a lot of fear that comes along with opening up to your community about your mental health struggles. But like, if I can be an example of that, I've been through some trauma in my life. And the one thing that I have never felt obligated to do is to talk at all in depth about that, because it's not just to protect me, it's very much to protect my community as well.
Yeah.
Um but actually, like Burb said, we do actually have a mental health a venting section in our Discord channel. You can do little things like that. I'm gonna plug it again. I'm not even an ambassador for Guardians MH, but the RTS bot is a great place to start. Even if you just have a timer for if you need assistance. Like that is something that is great to have. I've never thought about doing like a mental health day specifically. It tends to just kind of happen organically where
Cool.
I'm just very bad about hiding when I'm having a rough mental health day. And I think that something that streamers have a really rough time doing is um knowing when to take a break, or knowing when it's okay to be like, oh, I'm just having a really rough day. I can't hide
Yeah.
it. I hit that go
Mhm.
live button and I've got my starting soon screen on and I'm like, I cannot fake it right now. I can't fake
Yeah.
it. They're gonna know, because if
I've been
you're
there.
yeah, like depending on like your stream's vibe. I am a very loud, chaotic we're a very loud community. Um I and it's just very hard to hide when you're having a hard day. So I
Yeah.
think one of the best things you can do, if that's the type of community that you are trying to cultivate, is cultivate a community that is where you can feel like you are able to just be like, you know what, I'm having a rough day. um this is what happened during my day to cause this, without I always have to preface it without trauma dumping. um but I think it's tough. Like it is. I'm so grateful for the community that we have. We've got a community of people who are just viewers, and we also have a community of a lot of streamers or people who have started streaming. And I'm very bad at taking compliments and taking ownership for the impact that I've had on people. But the one thing I can say is that I've had people come to me and say that I was part of why they started streaming, and why they want to be open about their own mental health journey. And I guess understanding that you have a much more of an impact than you think that you do. And I'm very bad at accepting it. I can say it. I can say it. I can tell you, like, yeah, like what you're doing is important. I struggle with accepting it myself, but it's a journey in general. One day I might believe it, but I think that the more that we say it,
Mm.
I got community members now that are probably like, stop like downplaying yourself. Like it's
Yeah.
it's a
I'm gonna yell
struggle.
at you now, but I'm not gonna yell at you. Go ahead.
But yeah,
People
like
can often see the thing that you bring more than you can see it yourself.
oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
So
just
leaning
that's
into
everybody.
them and trusting their opinion at times is imperative.
It is. It is. I'm really bad at it.
Mhm.
I'm really,
And it's
really bad
okay.
at it.
And it's
No,
okay.
Um,
no
and
matter what
taking breaks when
role
you can. Like it's good to take a break.
no matter what role we have in the world, we plant seeds in other people, right? We are as people, we mimic others, right? We are role models in a
Mhm.
sense, right? And I don't mean that in a sense where you have to, you know, censor or not stream certain things, not necessarily in that regard, but we plant seeds in everybody, right? By just what we say, what we do, how we act. And we have an impact on the person, that anybody at any given moment, we can impact somebody's life just by saying hi, just by a pat on the shoulder, just by, whatever it might be. And one of the things that I learned in both a personal journey, but also on, just my own journey being a clinician, is what I am doing within a therapeutic sense is I'm hopefully planting and trying to cultivate those seeds. Thankfully, they're not real seeds because I do not have a green thumb. Um, but it's this idea of you playing the role of, you know, planting a thought and seeing if it grows,
Mhm.
right? Planting a positive behavior and like, did it take? Did it not? Why? Why not? What can we do differently? Working with that
Mhm.
person, right? But it goes much more broader than just in a therapeutic sense. We all
Mhm.
do that in ways that we don't even recognize half the time. So,
Mhm.
no, you make an impact no matter what.
I
Mhm.
told you that at the beginning of the stream. You make an impact.
Mhm.
And you better believe it.
And you know what else is very important? And this is not just like for mental health advocacy. This is just streaming in general. But being a mental health advocate does not mean that you cannot stand up for yourself or your community. And I think that that is something that's very, very important to remember because I have gotten crap
Yeah.
for it in the past for not allowing trolls to come into my community and
Oh,
plant negative seeds. And I know that a lot of people choose to just delete comments and move on. And I understand, I respect it fully, but I
mhm.
if somebody comes in and says something that is harmful, um you bet your butt I am not just going to delete that comment and move on because it is something that is extremely important to address when somebody comes in and says something like, wow, you said this, you're not a mental health advocate. Oh wow, that's, you're I can't even tell you the number of times that I've had people try to discount my mental health advocacy strictly for having an opinion that is not harmful in any sense of the word, is not trauma dumping, not triggering. um we are still human beings, and we are not mental health professionals. We are not perfect human beings. We don't need to be put up on a pedestal. And I think that having an opinion and being um strong-willed in your convictions is very important. If those things are not harmful and they are inclusive and welcoming and caring, even if they're very passionate, like that is important.
Yeah.
And I see so many people who are too scared to speak up because they're afraid that they're going to upset someone who doesn't agree with them. And at the end of the day, like it's your community, like it's your safe space. And as long as you are not hurting another person by saying it, or yeah, I mean, I guess like at the end of the day, like a troll is somebody who's doing it to upset you. But for me, it's like this is a good time to have a conversation. Like this is a good time to have a conversation about it, even if they're not there to listen. It's a good time to have a conversation about boundaries and what it is actually to be a mental health advocate, and it's not to be a doormat for people to walk all over you. Um, so yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we did have somebody come in who poked fun at my PTSD tag, um, making the, saying, "Oh, did you go to war or something?" And I was like,
What? What?
This,
"It's
Oftentimes people
2022, folks.
right,
It's
right.
oftentimes
2022."
people still have that misconception of what trauma
Mhm.
is.
Yeah.
Oftentimes
Yeah.
they think of what's called a capital T trauma, which is going to war, adverse experience,
Mhm.
but there
Mhm.
can be an accumulation of lowercase t traumas that can
Mhm.
be as impactful or even not more that
Hmm.
go into what are called complex traumas.
Right.
Mhm. Actually have I was diagnosed with complex PTSD, but it was from a sequence of events, and
Right.
it's just much more complicated than people
Yep.
think that it is.
Exactly.
And
Absolutely.
it's part of why people choose not to go and get help, because there is an
Mhm.
assumption that trauma can only happen and specific events, and it's the brain is the most malleable organ in the body. I don't think it's hard to believe that negative experiences, especially experiences that were never resolved, can't incredibly impact the way that you handle stress and the way that you view
Yeah.
yourself, and you know so
I could go on like a 2 hour spiel on that.
yep. It's complicated stuff, but
Yep.
I'm
Very much
incredibly
so.
privileged that I've learned a lot about the brain. I actually find like the brain and how trauma affects the brain very it's fascinating. Like I think it shouldn't be something that is like frowned upon to talk about, because like the brain is such a fascinating organ, and people don't realize how uh little things impact how your brain processes things, and that your brain is capable of so much, and it's capable of healing itself as well. And that is like it's so funny to me that mental health is such a non talked about thing, because like there are so many ways we can help ourselves heal from stress and from trauma and from all sorts of experiences. It's just a very fascinating thing that I think people need to be more open about in general.
Definitely. And that's
So
why we have chats like these, because they're so important. And we keep having them outside of Mental Health Awareness Month, too. Very important.
Mhm.
Very, very important.
Mental
So,
health is not
mental,
just through Mental Health Awareness Month.
yep.
exactly.
No.
We don't just struggle in May. Trust me, it's an everyday
No.
battle.
Yep,
Mhm.
it really
Absolutely.
is.
Yes. And I just want to thank every single one of you for joining us today. What a fantastic chat. And oh my gosh, thank you, Ladybird, Matt, and Dr. Goku. You are all incredible humans doing incredible work. Don't stop, take breaks, keep going, okay?
Promise.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much for
And
having me. It was
no,
very
thank
nice
you.
meeting you all.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, I
Yeah, it
like to talk
was.
about, the venting channel in Discord too. So, highly recommend it. It is so important to have in a
It's
community so they
nice,
can
yeah.
just vent and just spill everything that
Mhm,
happened, and oh my gosh, we have a lot of people that talk in there every single day in my
mhm.
Discord. And
And
also I put a NSFW warning
Hmm.
on
yeah.
it as well,
Mhm.
Mhm.
because you never know what people
Mhm.
will be sharing in there. So
I know some people
Right.
actually have a venting channel that where it's like writing in your diary and then burning the paper. Like it
Yep.
literally like you
uh,
Yeah.
could go in there and you could trauma dump and it'll delete itself afterwards. Like which is
wow,
very it's for
smart.
some people who are going to be more careful about what they say in a venting channel, that's something where like you just get it all out and
Huh.
then it's gone, and you feel better afterwards because you've vented, but
Yes.
you're not putting anybody else in, an uncomfortable situation. So I don't use it, but I've heard that it is something you can do on Discord, which is very, very
Mhm.
cool.
That's super cool. Wow.
So
Yeah.
Oh, and like I said, I'm gonna add the RTS bot to our Tiltify channel one and to my own channel. So thank you for informing us on that too. I really appreciate
Well,
it.
thank you.
No,
yeah.
Yeah.
thank you.
No, thank you.
No,
Stop
no,
it.
Thank
yes, thank you.
you.
No.
Yellow
No.
reverse card now.
We
I did
we can
red
do this
earlier.
again.
Doing yellow. And we do have our Control Plus stream kit. Make sure you follow Guardians MH on Twitch and Ladybird. If you have over a stream, you can follow them directly on Twitch. And lastly, Ladybird, can you tell us where we can find you on social so we can continue to support you and your content and uplift you in any way?
I am on Twitter. You can find me. My handle is TheLadyBirdTTB. I'm also on TikTok. I think I'm just the dot lady dot bird because of course there was not a ladybird on there because I refused. But yeah, I'm pretty active on Twitter and I'm active on Twitch. That's where you can find me.
Lovely. And I would assume that most of Guardians socials is Guardians MH, but
Yep.
if there's any differences, if you could let us know, that'd be lovely.
No, you can find us Twitter, Instagram. We are on TikTok. Joe
Hmm.
Joe
We're
runs that
starting to
one.
use TikTok more. We have
Yeah.
some ideas.
Yes.
Everything is Guardians MH. You can join our Discord server, discord.gg/GuardiansMH. And our website is guardiansmh.org. Feel free to follow us, take a look at what we're doing, and come be a part of what we're doing.
Mhm.
Yes, and the link in chat is towards their Tiltify page. You can donate to the cause directly, or you can start your own campaign. And remember, on our YouTube channel, we have videos about starting your campaign, utilizing our overlays, and all our different rewards we have, polls, milestones, everything. So take advantage of that. Join our Discord if you need help, and just get to chat with the community in there as well. So thank you, everybody, so much for being here. Yes, very educational stream and so fun. Fun to talk about
Mhm.
mental health. I love it. I love it. Even when we're talking about the really hard, days and sessions we have, it's still fun because
Yeah.
we're sharing our experience with you to let you know that
Exactly.
you're not alone. And I think it's super important for streamers to just be open with their community because I feel like people think streamers are robots and we are always okay and we're always happy. No,
Mhm. We're
complete
not.
opposite. I'm going
Gamers
to
are
tell
Yeah.
you when
humans
I'm
too
having a bad
with
day.
emotions.
Yes, if I'm having a bad day, I'm going to let you know. So you know that, hey, I am a real person and streamers do have legs because people think streamers don't have legs. Okay, we do have legs. Um, and we
But
wear
not just a
shorts.
torso.
And
We
we wear
wear
shorts.
basketball shorts with
We wear basketball with a
Leggings. We
suit.
live in leggings and sweatpants.
leggings.
Business up top, party on the bottom.
Relaxation on the bottom.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Relaxation
party,
on the bottom.
I
Yes.
know.
not party on the
Oh, I
Yes.
bottom,
love
but
it.
you know,
Yeah.
No, thank you,
Comfort.
everybody. Yes,
comfy.
comfort. That's what you aim for. And we are going to go send some love over to another streamer that is very, very strong on mental health and sharing her experiences as well. I don't know if y'all have heard of Jambo, but you're going to hear of her today.
Yes.
Jambo is awesome playing Stardew
Woo.
Valley. That's a very, very lovely comfort game, by the way. Just saying.
Mhm.
If you're looking for a
Love
comfort
Stardew
game,
Valley.
Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing. Also, Guardians, on their page, they have a games tab that they recommend
Do.
some cool games
Mhm.
for you, during stressful
I have
moments.
recommended Stardew to many a client.
Yes, yes. And Tetris. Yeah, Tetris is
Mhm.
definitely one of my comfort games. It stresses me out, but it helps me at the same time.
Jambo's the burrito girl. Remember
Yes.
that? The burrito girl. I love it.
And there's our
uh,
raid message. If you want to make your own raid message with your own emotes, you surely can. That's just our basic one we have. So thank you everybody so much.
thank you
Let's
so
go send the
much.
love over to Jambo. Thank you. Thank you. I'm gonna miss
Thank
y'all so
you.
much. Oh, I want to chat with
Nice
y'all
meeting you
every
all.
single day. Every
Let us
single
know,
day.
and we'll be happy to come on
Oh,
anytime.
Absolutely.
I am gonna message you. So look
Amazing.
at your email. Just
Will
yep,
do.
I will
It
message
will.
you.
You guys.
And thank you
Thank
so
you,
much again for
everybody.
having us.
No,
Yes, it
thank
was
you.
a great
No,
talk.
I'm really appreciative. Really
No,
appreciative.
thank
So,
you. Uh,
so I'm gonna have to start my fundraiser soon. Gonna make time. We got this. Have an amazing day, everybody. Be safe out there.
Bye.
bye.
Bye.